Well, good day, everyone. This is Michael Kolbeck here, and I want to start off today. Now, here's the funny thing about this video, right? You already see I have a bunch of writing on the board. That's because I've already recorded this video once, but I forgot to turn my microphone on. So we're going to do it again. We're just going to start with everything on the board here in front of us. I wanted to call out this wonderful, amazing woman that I've been listening to on YouTube that I stumbled across in the last month or so. To me, she's just a kid, and I don't mean that in any derogatory way. I don't know how old she is. Maybe she's 30, maybe she's 35, but I'm 55 years old. I have kids that are that age. And so I have daughters that are that age. Um, so she is an amazing woman. Her name is Destiny Finn. Destiny Finn, Finn. Look her up on YouTube. She has video after video out there. She pulls together so many esoteric, metaphysical things from so many different religions and perspectives and neuroscience and everything, and pulls these all together to help give us an understanding of consciousness and what we're doing here, right? And I wanted to make a video based off this today because when I was listening to her today, she said this quote that we're going to start with. We stop being somebody so we can become nobody. So we can become anybody and therefore relate to everybody. And the reason this jumped out at me because I loved the way she encapsulated that all together. For a while now in my own life, I have been going through the process years and years ago, and to some extent up until probably even recently, I was very much fulfilling the roles as somebody, right? Whether that somebody was a father, whether that somebody was a business analyst, whether that somebody was a reverend, right? Whether that somebody was a doctor, right? I'm not a doctor, but let's say if you're a doctor, this somebody can be anything, right? It can be Republican, it can be Democrat, it can be the person who is in the military and identifies themselves as a military person for the rest of their lives. Now, what I have found interesting is my dad was in the military. He served in the Air Force back when he was in his young 20s. He was in the Air Force for 3 years, and I, throughout my life, have basically forgotten that he served in the military because when military holidays come around and different things, he doesn't speak about his time really. He'll talk about it. He's more than happy to talk about his time in the military and everything, but he doesn't identify with it, right? It was a role he took on for a period of time in his life, and after that role was done, he let that role go, right? But it's interesting because we'll see people. We all know people, and there's nothing wrong with this. There's no judgment against this. These are just examples that I'm using, examples that I'm bringing up, where somebody could have served in the military just like my father did back in their young 20s and for 2 or 3 years, and then in their 50s, they're still talking about that. They're still very, very, very identified with that. They still have maybe all of their military stuff up hanging on the walls and different things, right? Because they still identify with that role in some way, shape, or form. We all do this in certain ways. We can identify, politics is an easy one to pick out, right? What it means when it talks about being somebody is it means that this somebody provides you value and meaning for your life. And in that value and meaning that provides for your life, you become attached to that role, to that somebody, right? Think of the people who have worked, who have taken on their job. It's a 40-hour work week job, but they work 60, 70, 80 hours a week. That role has become their dominant identity in life. They have become attached and enmeshed in that role. Same way with the military person, like I brought up before. Same way with a rock star, right? You could be a rock star in your 20s or something like that, and you could still be in your 50s trying to recapture that, talking about those glory days back then, right? It could be any number of things. And there's nothing wrong with nostalgia. There's nothing wrong with reminiscing. What the issue is what is your relationship with this role? If you take a look at Republican and Democrat, right, just for two examples, doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, independent, whatever, right? But some people are so identified as a Republican that anybody else who's not a Republican is wrong, right? Same way with the Democrat. If you're not a Democrat, then you're wrong. We see this in religion, right? Where people say, their religion is right and their religion is the right way and it's the one right way and everybody else is wrong. It's no different. And the thing is, the persona of the individual, the egoic part of the individual has become attached to that identity and is now clinging and grasping on to that identity, meaning this is who we are. Yes, this is who we are, and this is where we derive our value from. This is where we derive our purpose from. This is where we derive our truth from. Comes from this identity. But for those of us who have had that experience, and we still do this at times, you can move into a place where you stop being somebody so that you can become nobody. When we're up here in the somebody role, whatever that role is, or multiple roles, right? You're believing that that is your identity. You're attached to those roles and the meaning they provide. When you move then to the nobody because you stop being somebody, it means you've understood that these roles are just roles. That this identity that you had in this thing, it was just an identity for a time. It's not the identity of who you are in the truth of who you are. Because at your core, you are much greater than this physical form. You are spirit. You are eternal. You always have been and always will be. You are a spiritual being having a human experience, right? You are the Word become flesh. And when we realize that these roles do not define us, then we can become nobody. Because we let go of the identity that these roles provide for us, the meaning that these roles have. And that does not mean that these roles were bad in any way. There's been many, many things in my life where I have become very identified with certain things. For instance, I love Unity Center of Des Moines. I love the Unity movement under Charles and Myrtle Fillmore that was founded way back when. I love their concepts. I love what they teach because they teach about unity. They teach about oneness. They teach about everybody's own unique spiritual path, right? But for a time, while I was going to Unity and finding this, I became very identified with it. And it became a lot of meaning and a lot of purpose for me in my life. And there's nothing good or bad about that at that point. And after a while, though, my relationship with that changed. And I'm able to look at it now from more of a perspective and say, yes, I still value that relationship. I still value going there. I still value the people there. But it is not the identity of Michael. It's no different than if I was doing my business analyst work and I decided, hey, I'm just a business analyst. This is what I'm going to do with all my time is do this thing. I become so identified with it, I hardly have time for anything else, right? That's attaching to somebody, to something. When you move away from somebody so that you become nobody, you're starting to understand, you're starting to let go of the meaning and the value that these roles have in your life. Doesn't mean they're not still important. It means you're no longer identified with them. To give you, as a person, as a spirit, to give you meaning and identity. So you let go of that attachment. Then you become nobody. Once you become nobody, you can become anybody, right? And what you find when you get to this becoming anybody thing is you'll find that a lot of the roles here, a lot of the things that you're able to step into and do are exactly the same roles that were up here in the somebody phase. But your relationship with these roles has changed. The lens through which you view these roles is now different, right? What was funny in my journey was I noticed that I had a lot of identification with movies and a lot of identification with music and different things in earlier portions of my life. And it's because those things provided me some type of identity. They provided me some type of escape, right? Within my life. And that was the relationship that I had with those things. Then, as I began my own journey and working on my own things in here, my own inner workings and healing, I let a lot of those things go. In fact, and that was very weird because, in fact, there was a period of time where I think it was over a year that I didn't even go to a movie theater. And when I would look at going to a movie, it just didn't interest me. It was just, I could scroll through and like, yeah, I just didn't feel it. I just didn't feel it. And it's because my relationship to these things, because I was doing the internal work here, my relationship with everything else out there was changing. All the dynamics were changing. And as time went on, it came back around to where I started going and seeing movies again. I started listening to music again, same music that I used to listen to, you know. And what was interesting was I expected them to feel the same way, but they didn't. And it was hugely disappointing. And I thought, man, it just doesn't have that hit that it used to. It doesn't energize me the same way it used to. And that's because I wasn't the same person anymore. Version of me had changed. Thus, my relationship to these things had changed in my life as well. And as time went on, that relationship changed and changed even more. And now I can go see a movie. I can listen to music. It's not the end all be all of everything, right? It's not good. It's not bad. And back here, I used to have a lot of conflict on certain things. Like I used to want to go see concerts and stuff, but the concerts were like, oh man, I really shouldn't go see that concert as a Christian because then I'm failing God and everything. I had identity, such an identity in who I needed to be as a Christian at this point in my life that it made me have all of these internal battles within it. It made me very judgmental of others as well. But fast forward through the years and through the work that I did inside here, I can look at these same things. There's nothing good, nothing bad in terms of these particular roles, these particular relationships that I have, because I'm coming at them from a more conscious place, knowing that these things don't define me, knowing that I don't inherently need anything from these people, from these roles, from these things in order to make me feel complete or make me feel whole. Because I've realized through this process that I am already whole, I am already complete. I am spirit in human form. And we are here taking on different roles, having different experiences, right? Learning to know thyself at a deeper and deeper level. And when we move away to this ability to become anybody, we can step back into those same roles because we're stepping into them without identifying our meaning with them. We can step back into them and say, yeah, sure, I can do some BA work here. I can do some business analyst work here. Hop back into that. The work doesn't define me. The relationship doesn't define me, right? And that's the rules of non-attachment there. And then we bring this down a little bit further so we can become anybody, and by becoming anybody, that we can therefore relate to everybody. And this is because this is going back to once you've moved from here, where you are attached, where you have a lot of judgment, a lot of right and wrong, a lot of black and white thinking, a lot of this is the right way, that's the wrong way. And you move and you let go of those identities, you let go of those ego attachments, right? And you become more conscious in these things. You understand that you can still be a Republican down here, but instead of having animosity against people who aren't Republicans, you just choose to accept them where they are and as they are and who they are, knowing that all of them all of them come from source, just like you do. All of them emanate from the one, right? We are all fractals of the one. This is no different if you identify as Democrat and you think the same thing, where up here you may have judged the Republicans, right? You had a very distinct version of right and wrong, etc. Down here, it doesn't mean that you are valueless. It doesn't mean you have no core. It just means you can allow yourself to be on the path where you are and have your own beliefs and truths. And you can allow somebody else to be on the path where they are and have their own beliefs and truths. And you understand that you're all operating at your own level of consciousness and that you all emanate from the one. And as you all emanate from the one, as you all emanate from source, emanate from God, emanate from love itself, therefore you can relate to everybody, right? Because you know they are at their path, in the point of their path where they need to be, just like you are at the point of your path where you need to be. This is very much a live and let live mentality here. Again, this does not mean that you don't have any sense of right or wrong or anything of that nature. And I'm not going to go into that because that's a big rabbit hole right here. Okay? This just means that you're no longer fulfilling these roles based on the identity of the role, and the identity of the role giving you your value and your meaning. Here you already understand you have value and meaning outside of the roles. The roles are just roles. That's it. Up here, you believe that the role or the roles create your identity and create your meaning and value for who you are. Again, if you have a moment, go back and check Destiny Fin out. We stop being somebody so we can become nobody, so that we can become anybody and thereby relate to everybody. And what she is talking about here is moving away from attachment to a specific role and or identity, or an amalgamation of many roles and identities, and moving to a place of higher consciousness, right? Where we become nobody, where we open up, where we are no longer clinging and grasping and holding on to my way is the right way and that's the only way. Down here, we let go of all of that. And we're able to entertain all of these different perspectives on things. And we also understand that we all emanate from oneness, that we all emanate from source. We are all fractals of source. I put John 14:20 up here and John 17:21 through 23 up here because Jesus is talking about in these verses, I and the Father are one, and you are in me, and I am in the Father, and you and Father are one. He's talking about oneness. He's talking about the interconnectedness of all things. And I'm not talking about just people. I'm talking about the interconnectedness of all things, of consciousness. Consciousness exists in everything. And once we understand that, we are able to more so operate from this perspective or from this level down here. And don't get me wrong, you'll still be in this level, and every now and then you'll still pop back up here in a certain way and attach to something and start identifying with it. It's kind of human nature, right? But that's fine, because once you become aware of that, you go, oh gosh, I'm really attached to that. I'm going to let go of that. I can still do whatever it is, but I'm going to change my relationship with that thing or with that person, because that thing or that person does not complete me. I am complete and whole in who I am, because the very essence of God lives within me. I am an expression of God. I am an expression of Source in its unique form of Michael, or in your unique form. That's all I've got for today. As always, blessings and love to each of you.